reading some of the background online, I understand you are not against tanker traffic on the West Coast and not against the Enbridge pipeline.
I'm so glad you asked me that question so that I could actually clarify my views on the Enbridge pipeline. The Enbridge Northern Gateway pipeline clearly has big problems. I do support finding access to the West Coast for the oil sands. The prosperity that is generated in the oil sands benefits the whole country. There's manufacturing in Ontario, other aspects of some of the contributions that come, some of the technology from Quebec. Needless to say, part of the economy of Newfoundland and Labrador benefits tremendously. The prosperity from the oil sands benefits the whole country. But we are suffering about a 30% price discount so we can't get world market prices because we have one customer, and that's the United States. Worse, reports are saying now that the United States could be self-sufficient, energy self-sufficient by 2020. If we don't find an alternative, then we lose our one customer. That's a bad scenario for any business. So we need access to the West Coast. We can talk about, I actually did an op-ed in the Globe and Mail a few weeks ago about a national energy infrastructure strategy, the idea of moving oil eastward. There's some really interesting things there, but the big markets are to the west. The big markets of China and other Asian countries are to the west. So I do support finding access to the West Coast. Clearly, the Enbridge Northern Gateway option has huge problems. Totally aside from concerns about Kitimat, which are absolutely legitimate concerns. The process that's being undertaken now does not give anybody the sense that this project, even if it's passed, will have the necessary social license to proceed. And social license, in my view, is critical. So, access to the West Coast, but Enbridge Northern Gateway, huge problems. It could be, some discussions about whether Prince Rupert would be an alternative, whether additional capacity to Vancouver would be an alternative. There's some really interesting discussions going on now about rail and possible rail through Alaska, for example. All of those should be looked at. Whatever solution is arrived at will be the solution that is environmentally sustainable and works with the other stakeholders, for example, the First Nations communities involved. So I do encourage finding access to the West Coast. I am not, at this point, particularly enthused about the Enbridge Northern Gateway option.